Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back.
First things first.
What's that?
Happy birthday.
Oh, this week is my birthday.
Happy birthday.
But everybody has a birthday every year. So just to specify, this is my 60th.
60.
Yeah. I'm the same age as NASA. we were born the same week in 1958.
And how are you both doing?
We have ups and downs.
Right.
We try to keep them mostly up.
Things are looking up. We got Neil a little cake from the show, and I was like, we should make it like a planets type thing. And then we're like, the planet doesn't like balance, so we got you like half a planet. Then we're like, is it a planet? Is he going to judge us for it? There was so much stress.
It's a planet somewhere in the universe.
Right.
Not one of ours. Right.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Like,
what?
Are people intimidated by you because like they don't want to say the wrong? Like, for instance, I'm just hanging out with Neil. I always ask him a random question about what's plaguing me, about what's happening in the universe. And now I was like, hey man, what's going on with Pluto? Because I read a thing where they said like Pluto might be a planet again. And then you're like, no, it's not a planet again. What's going on with Pluto?
Just get over it. It's
Get over it which way? So is a planet is not a planet. Which way should I get over it?
I think there's a push right now to try to get it back, but it's going to be really hard.
A push from whom?
But there are Pluto lovers out there that have not given up.
You saying there's like a Pluto lobby out there?
They're all mostly American, because in 1930, when Pluto, the cosmic object, was discovered, Disney first drew Pluto the dog. So the dog and the former planet have the same sort of tenure in our hearts and minds.
Did you say the former planets? Man, this world. You know what I've always enjoyed about your work, and you know, I mean, a testament to that work is how your book is still on the New York Times as a bestseller.
Crazy. My other book.
Yes, your other book.
Yes,
right. Still on the New York Times.
And this showed up next to it.
Right.
Like
because. Yeah, because you make.
Let me just say, we cheer any science book that lands anywhere near the bestseller list. And so, because there's always the political books that Tidewaters bring in and out, and an athlete book and a celebrity book. And if a science book shows up, I was like, whoa, maybe finally someone will be talking science at the water cooler.
Right.
And so my first one is still in its 73rd week.
It's ridiculous.
And this one is there, so it's 2 books. 2 science books, yeah.
And I say it's because you make it so accessible. You try and tie astrophysics to what's happening in the world. I mean, this book...
Wait, I could do that, but someone still has to be interested in it. And it's, for me, it's a sign.
No, I disagree. I thought it's the other way around. I think it's the other way around. I think you make us interested in the thing, because you go like, interest, I think, is created. We're interested in everything.
That's very sweet of you.
Yeah, people are always interested in interesting things.
Yeah, okay.
But you have to make it interesting.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what you've done with this book for me, right?
Yeah.
This book is a really interesting book, because you talk about the relationship between astrophysics and the military.
Going way back.
Right, way back.
Hundreds, thousands, yeah.
So people have always been using, like the military has always been using astrophysics to move forward.
Before the late 19th century, just the term astronomer was it. Later on, we started doing spectroscopy, and much more physics came a part of it. So we used the word astrophysics. But basically, people who understood the universe were handmaidens to military conquerors from the beginning.
Right.
And part of it is, you want to know, especially the seafaring nations, you want to know where the people are who you want to conquer. How do you know where you are on Earth? You got to go to the astronomers, because we know what the sky looks like from all different parts of the Earth. And you take that information and you infer where you are on Earth from it.
Right.
And when you do that, you control the seas. You control the undiscovered lands. You control the lands that people are living in that you are more powerful than. When you finally land on like Columbus did this.
Right.
Columbus, he on his 4th voyage, he lands on Hispaniola, does what he does. He tries to get back to Spain. He doesn't have enough supplies. He goes to the natives and say, give me some of your supplies. They said, no, we just have enough for ourselves to get through to the next harvest.
Right.
And he knew that a total lunar eclipse was coming up a week later. And he said, if you do not give me your supplies, my God will make the moon go away. I'll make it disappear from the sky. And they freaked out. But some of them were skeptical. A week goes by, the moon starts disappearing. They rapidly got their supplies, gave it to him. He stayed in his cabin till halfway through the eclipse. He then comes out and says, my God is merciful to you for giving me the supplies. We will now have the moon return. Because halfway in the eclipse, the moon comes out the other side of Earth's shadow. So he used knowledge of the universe to exploit people not as knowledgeable or as powerful as he was.
That is a hilarious story, but I feel like we're skipping over the part where these people died because they don't have food now.
Right. There's nothing written about that.
Yeah.
But Columbus successfully gets back to Spain.
That is a wild. I feel like you could still use those techniques today because a lot of people don't think like that. I feel like I could use that with like my taxi driver in New York, and I'll just be like, I'm not gonna pay, and he'd be like, you have to pay, and I'll be like, my God will remove the moon. I feel like it could still work today.
It could for some. It could for.
Who follows the moon
It ain't
right
working
now?
on me, but it could work.
Well, you're not my taxi driver, Neil. I mean, if you were my taxi driver, I'd be like, Neil, what happened to the bestseller? What's going on, Neil?
No, but the thing is, think about it. If you have knowledge of natural phenomena
Yes.
and of the universe, and you have nefarious motives, you can exploit anybody who does not. And so for me, science literacy is so important in modern civilization. So it is inoculation against people who would otherwise exploit your ignorance of the phenomenon of the world.
We've come a long way from the days of Columbus, and we're looking at the modern day military today who are still in a relationship with astrophysicists.
Yes, we are.
You know, Donald Trump has promised us one of the greatest promises a president ever has, and that is the development of the Space Force.
Space Force.
Space Force.
Space Force.
And the key idea...
Yeah, calm down. It's okay.
You cannot calm down.
It's
We're
okay.
talking about Space Force. You cannot calm down. We're talking about Space Force.
Plus the way he talked about it.
Right.
It was like it was bicep flexing.
Now, I want to know from you, as an astrophysicist, how feasible is a space force? Like, can you fight wars in space? Is it fighting wars against other countries when the aliens come? Where would you say we wage the war against the aliens? Just looking at the planet and how things work.
Yeah, the aliens, I think, just give up all hope. If the aliens come across the galaxy in a ship, and we haven't left, we haven't been past the moon since 1972. Oh. They are smarter and more powerful and have better machinery than us.
Right.
And every example of when that happened in our own species, the one who had who was less technologically able ended up, it was bad for them. They were enslaved, they were put on reservations.
Wow.
In fact, all the movies that portray aliens treating us that way, I think it's not from knowledge that we don't have any knowledge of the aliens, it's how we know we've treated each other. It is a mirror to our culture and our civilization.
Right.
How aliens are portrayed in all of these sci-fi movies. So, anyway, Space Force, yeah, it'd be nice if it could swat aliens out of the sky.
Right.
That's not what the goal. So the Air Force has a branch of itself called the U.S. Space Command.
Right.
So there's already military activity in space. It was just sort of an accounting shift. You shift it all out. Got its own branch. And if you're going to do that, I'd throw in asteroid defense. Why not? Why don't you clean up the debris, the space debris?
Right.
Okay? Now, you're thinking there's like...
Because there's the junk in space.
It's junk in space. That'd be bad for our space assets. What's a military to do? You want them to protect your borders, of course, and the normal things a military would do. But how about your assets? There's assets in space that are worth far beyond the value of the hardware itself.
Right.
There's satellites that enable business on the ground. So the GPS satellites, for example, they were put up by the military. And we figured out how to tap into it. People figured out how to tap into it and use it for conducting business. The entire business model of Uber runs off of GPS satellites. Tinder runs off of GPS satellites, okay? You want to mate in the next 48 hours and get a coordinate system for that? This is how that works.
So now what I'm enjoying...
So in the old days...
What I'm enjoying right now is this relationship. So you had an astrophysicist like yourself who was like, I think I've just figured out a way to use space to launch a satellite that can tell us exactly where we are on the Earth. And the military was like, we can use this to conquer people. And someone was like, oh, now I know how to smash. That was basically... Is that evolution or is that the opposite? What is that?
I don't know what that shows. The boundless creativity of people when confronted with a new means of conducting business.
So is it important for astrophysics to be part of the military? Is this something that is a luxury, or do you genuinely think that this will determine the future of the world?
Here's what happened. We make discoveries, and the military looks over the picket fence and say, hey, we want some of that.
Right.
And then they do things of much higher budget that we couldn't otherwise afford. It emerges out, it gets declassified. Hey, say, we want some of that. Project Keyhole was an idea to put telescopes in orbit that look down.
Right.
Masterminded telescope, beautiful telescope. We said, hey, after that got declassified, we want one of those. Became the Hubble Space Telescope. looking up.
Right.
This is why we care about the same things the military cares about.
Are you ever worried, though, that the military would use one of your discoveries as an astrophysicist to do something really horrible on Earth?
They might do that, but I have no control over that. And so what this book does, it is a discussion. It's an exploration of all the ways we have each crossed each other's street. Either blindly say, oh, give me that, I don't care what you did with it, or how many, I want that because it'll help me learn about the universe,
right.
And vice versa. I don't judge it, I present it and I observe it. Because not all wars are bad. I used to think war was bad because I grew up during Vietnam. But the Second World War, you're not going to sit idly by and just let Hitler run ramshackle over
right.
Europe. You're going to say, let's rise up. War memorials have soldiers standing proudly astride a steed, brandishing weapons. And I looked at that and I said, why are they doing this? Because war is bad.
Right.
But then I realized, no, not all conflict is bad. Sometimes you have to stand up and fight enemies of civilization. And so we have been a handmaiden to that enterprise ever since the beginning.
And this is why they're bestsellers. You make it interesting. Thank you so much for being on the show. Accessory to War is available now. Neil deGrasse Tyson, everybody.